Gunpowder. What an ironic incident. Presented by Misha. World Cultures, Period 2. Gunpowder is a very interesting topic. Gunpowder was discovered by accident, which is really ironic because something that was supposed to create immortality was used to kill millions of people. Gunpowder was like a virus that spread through Asia and the Silk Roads, and no one outside of China really saw it coming. Alchemists created gunpowder on accident. Alchemist practices include mythology, magic, religion, and spirituality. Their studies were proto-science, which is before modern-day science was established, basing on ancient religions. They set the ground for modern-day chemistry and medicine. Alchemists used many methods, such as thesis, terminology, and experimental methods, that we still use today. What an alchemist did was they used these skills to apply to real life and create something that was not reality, to create something extraordinary that no one had ever seen before, like the Philosopher's Stone or the Elixir of Life. But most of the time, they would find something used in everyday life today, like gunpowder. The Chinese introduced gunpowder to the Arabs and Mongols, who introduced it to the West, including Europe in the 13th century. Europeans couldn't produce gunpowder as well as the Chinese, because saltpeter, one of the most important ingredients in gunpowder, is usually grown in warmer climates, which is what Europe lacked. Sometimes you could find saltpeter in caves, such as Grassy Cove Saltpeter Cave. Gunpowder contains charcoal, sulfur, and saltpeter. Charcoal is the fuel for the gunpowder, but it can be substituted for anything that burns, such as sugar. We could use sugar instead of charcoal for gunpowder. Sulfur is another ingredient in gunpowder. Sulfur comes in different compounds, but what is put in gunpowder is elemental sulfur. Sulfur can be found in Italy, Texas, Louisiana, Java, Japan, and Mexico. Sulfur is a yellow solid that melts at 248 degrees on contact, so they couldn't remove sulfur by bodily actions. Then Hermann Frosch invented a method to drill the sulfur like oil. What they would do was drill a well into the sulfur bed. An intense steam is enforced down the well, which causes the sulfur to melt. The sulfur rises up a concentric pipe back to the surface of the earth so that the sulfur will cool and return to its solid form and be able to be used in gunpowder. Saltpeter is the most important ingredient in gunpowder. It burns at 7,016 degrees Fahrenheit. Saltpeter was used for bombs, but since it burned instead of exploded, they had to make some modifications to the ingredients for it to explode instead of burn. In the 10th century, China realized that gunpowder could be used for the military. So the Chinese made weapons such as guns, cannons, flamethrowers, and other explosives. Chinese alchemists who wanted to make immortality, or bushu, possible for people too, tried to create a drug to become immortal, but instead they accidentally created gunpowder. Since it was China's secret, during battle with different countries, China always had the upper hand. No one was acquainted with gunpowder, but the Chinese already developed weapons that no one had ever seen before. The Chinese had weapons that set on fire and blew up things, while the other countries had swords and bow and arrows, with not a chance at winning. Gunpowder traveled in a caravan, which traveled to local bazaars where the gunpowder was traded among the people.